So here's the thing. I had a university assignment and I'm using it as an excuse to talk about Scream, because why am I going to do a communication project if it isn't any fun? I really like Scream. I finally watched all the sequels this past October, but I've loved that first movie for years. And specifically, spoilers for a 29-year-old movie, by the way, the reveal that the Ghostface killer is not one individual, but two. Both Billy Loomis and Stu Macher. And unlike some of the Scream sequels, the first movie wasn't hampered by leaked identities, which means that Skeet Ulrich and Matthew Lillard were able to wholeheartedly perform as both normal characters and secretive serial killers. In other words, they did a lot of face work. To shift into communication major mode for a second, I want to quickly define the concept in the most semi-broad yet still specific way that I can. Face work, as the name kind of implies, is simply behavior that manages someone's face, their public opinion that garners any kind of respect, dignity, or acceptance. It's the idea that almost everything you do is, to some degree, a performance, one that's meant to create an image in someone's mind of who you are as a person. Naturally, as someone who loves movies, you can see why the concept really fascinates me. It allows an actor to perform a performance, to have a character they're playing also play a character.
I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
There's a bunch of different types of face and associated concepts, but I do want to keep this relatively simple and hone in on the idea of face-threatening acts specifically. Now, these are any actions that affect an individual's positive face, which is effectively their personal desires and personality that they want to be appreciated by others. By contrast, negative face boils down to someone's basic needs as a human and a just social being, but we won't be talking about that much. One specific instance of a face-threatening act, I'm going to keep calling it an FTA because it's a really long name to say over and over, is at the fountain early in the movie. Billy and or Stu have just killed Stephen Casey, plunging Woodsboro into a state of paranoia, and the main cast of kids are all having a conversation about the killings. Because Scream is somewhat of a whodunit, all the characters are prone to saying things that seem suspicious and could constitute an FTA.
Did you really put her liver in the mailbox? Because I heard that they found her liver in the mailbox.
But one that I've always found fun is when Stu does it. See, Stu is kind of a moron. Specifically, he lacks self-awareness. And Billy, as the brains of the operation, is constantly giving him little nonverbal cues to communicate, which is a whole other communications project I could do, honestly. Point being, Billy is a great communicator in this, and recognizes the inherent value in face work. Both he and Stu need to maintain the appearance and demeanor of two mild-mannered high school students who like parties and their girlfriends. It's why when Stu does and says things that blatantly say, "I wear a costume from Spirit Halloween to gut my ex," Billy recognizes how important it is that he shuts up.
I didn't kill anybody. Nobody said you did.
I'm equally fascinated by the iconic scene in the video store, mostly for the fact that it is essentially one long FTA for Billy, just not to any of the other characters. By this point, Randy is wildly suspicious of Billy as being the killer, so he's actively looking for any mistakes or damage Billy causes to his positive face.
If you were the only suspect in a senseless bloodbath, would you be standing in the horror section?
However, Billy's behavior in the scene is, I think, what irreparably damages his facade to the audience, which is a whole other story. There's no way that Billy, as a character, doesn't realize that he's acting like a serial killer here. But Skeet, as an actor, he absolutely knows it and therefore plays into it. I think, honestly, it's the reason why, and this is purely anecdotal, this is the scene that I hear most people cite as the thing that gives it away that Billy is one of the killers. But verbally, what Billy and Stu are doing is attacking face for other characters, trying to cast dispersion away from them.
You know what I think it is? I think it's her father. I'm telling you, the dad's a red herring. It's Billy.
How do we know you're not the killer?
Huh? You're absolutely right. I'm the first to admit it. If this were a scary movie, I'd be the prime suspect.
That's right. And what would be your motive?
Now, this pretty effectively demonstrates that face work, in my opinion, works great through contrast. Billy and Stu don't need to look more innocent, they just need to make themselves look less suspicious by comparison to characters like Sydney's father and Randy. That's why they give possible motives for both of those characters. And of course, I think the finale's interesting for showing what happens when Positive Face goes completely to the wayside. With the reveal of Billy and Stu as killers, they don't have any face work to do. Now remember what I said earlier that I wouldn't be talking about negative face as a concept? Well, I lied. This, for these characters, is what negative face looks like. Now, it's important to note that negative face isn't necessarily a bad thing. It merely refers to concepts that have to do with what one might call more basic instincts and desires. I consider this finale an expression of negative face because Billy and Stu are both behaving in a way that shows simplistic needs. Hell, the way Billy describes the off-screen murder of Maureen Prescott is not as something that he really wanted or was compelled to do, but more like something that he was justified and entitled to do. He treats his ability to kill Sydney's mother like it's a basic personal right, and that's genuinely horrifying. It also displays to Sydney and the audience just how much face work both of these characters have done across the entire movie up to this point. Billy has seemed suspicious, but ultimately like a charming and decent guy, if a little stupid sometimes. Stu has seemed mostly like a total weirdo, but a harmless one. And the fact that both the audience and the characters don't realize until it's too late is evidence of some great face work on their parts. As I stated earlier, Scream takes the form of a horror whodunit. Whodunits fundamentally are movies about communication, about being able to articulate your innocence and another's guilt, regardless of how much truth is behind either. I think the fact that most people don't see the twist coming on their first watch of Scream is evidence that director Wes Craven, writer Kevin Williamson, and actors Skeet Ulrich and Matthew Lillard understand this. They understand the importance of two characters hiding their intentions with some careful and precise actions and words, hiding their true face with a ghost face. So if you're confronted with someone you suspect of lying, serial killer or not, pay close attention to what they're doing and what might constitute as face work, how they're actively trying to shape your perception of them, and what they do that might threaten that face. It might make the difference between peace and quiet and a blood-curdling scream. Whoa, hey, it's the end of the video. Real quick, gotta thank the patrons, especially Devrick5, Did You Get a Guy, Spark Plasma, and Wrestling Fan 99. If you like the video, drop a like, comment, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Check out the other channel that I host on, Cursed Cinema Cube, where me and my friends Josh and Gwen goof on cursed movies. If you want to support the channel financially, then use code Chimera Films in the Fortnite item shop so your purchases send me some kickback. Alternatively, support the channel on Patreon for early access, exclusive videos, and more. And lastly, follow me on Blue Sky, Instagram, and join the Discord or server for updates. Okay, bye!